ready for the fight. From the court to the field, they shine so bold. With every move, the stories unfold. We're cheering on the youth from the start to the win. Giving them the mic, let their voices begin. Interviews and highlights, we got it all. GN Sports Show, where the young stand tall. GN Sports, where the youth lead the way. Champions of tomorrow, making waves today. From ages 5 and up, we help them grow. It's their time to shine on the GN Sports Show. GN Sports Show. GN Sports Show.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the 7th episode of Season 3 of the GN Sports Show. My name is Jonathan Thorogood, the Administrative Assistant at GN Sports Global, and along with me is my special co-host, Jaden Leandro. Welcome back, Jaden.
Thanks again for having me.
And of course, we have a packed lineup for our viewers as usual. Tonight, we'll start off with our GNFC President, Ricky Santos, where he will be speaking to us a little bit about the wrap-up of the GNFC season so far.
And then we'll have George Hughes, National Head Coach and Head Coach of Flyers Basketball, along with Adonis Humphreys, Captain of both the National Senior Team and Flyers, and Jaden Andrew of the National Senior Team and Northside Stingers.
We'll also be speaking with Lanka Academy's selector, Ajantha Mendis.
And then we'll finish off with a special feature interview from Dr. Rick Millis, Medical Doctor at AUA.
So don't go anywhere. We'd like to just take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Our vision is to become the premier platform for showcasing and empowering young student athletes, providing them with the tools and exposure to excel both in sports and life, while shaping the next generation of confident, media-savvy leaders. The GN Sports Show is dedicated to highlighting the talent and stories of young student athletes across all sports disciplines. We aim to equip them with vital media exposure and public speaking skills, helping them grow into confident individuals both on and off the field. Through engaging interviews, mentorship, and real-world media experiences, we strive to foster personal and professional development that supports their athletic journeys.
GN Sports Show.
And welcome back to the GN Sports Show. As you can see on set with us today, we have the GNFC President, Ricky Santos, who is speaking to us today. Just a little wrap-up of the GNFC season 2024-2025. So welcome again to the show, Mr. Santos.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here in between two Hall of Fame Generation X players and two of the original players in Generation X when we started back in September of 2012. So it's a pleasure now being interviewed by both of you.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show as well, sir.
And thanks for having me.
Of course.
So we'll get into it. We said we'll speak a little bit about a wrap-up of the season so far, 2024-2025. Sure. So we'll start off at the beginning of the year. Can you tell us a little bit about the Calvin Ayre Foundation Combine that we did?
Sure. This I think it's the 5th or 6th year, going from memory here, that we have partnered with the Calvin Ayre Foundation to implement the initiative of the Player Identification Combine.
Yep.
And every year, to be quite frank, it seems to be getting bigger and more kids are being offered opportunities and are going away.
Yeah.
So for higher education in particular. Some are going for trials at professional clubs, but unfortunately none has made it yet. But we are still hopeful that will happen. But a number of kids are going off to higher education and even high school education too. So we are grateful to the Calvin Ayre Foundation that they have partnered with us as a benefactor, actually, to afford these young footballers in Antigua such wonderful opportunities.
Yeah. And just before we started, I know we were speaking about it, myself and Jaden, we would have loved to have these opportunities nowadays, you know. We never had it back in the day when we were playing, and we get a little jealous now and again when we see all the opportunities that these younger ones are getting. But of course, that is the main goal. We want the development of the younger ones. Go off and do the best,
Well, it's wonderful having both of you in the Generation X setup now.
Yeah.
You, of course, in a senior position in administration, the future soon to take over, and Jaden will be joining us soon.
Of course.
Hopefully with all what we have planned
Yep.
for future projects and initiatives in Generation X.
Yeah, of course.
So there was also the ACB Caribbean Youth League. Can you tell us how that transpired?
Yes, actually this year was even bigger than last year, and I must say it was better. We were in a little bit of a dilemma in just about a month before the league actually started, when we lost our title sponsor. And we didn't know how we were going to manage it at the time, but we were grateful that our title sponsor at the time, Kenneth A. Gomez and Sons, and they've been with us since 2014, so they were with us for 10 years, and we're very grateful for that. However, we were left in a dilemma, and through one of our other sponsors who had put us in contact with ACB, and they came on board within a day.
Yep.
And we're very grateful for that. And a byproduct of that also was another member of the Air Media team who used to work with CIU had put us on to CIU, and they came on as a silver sponsor.
Yeah.
So we'd like to thank two individuals, Ashley Walter, and from putting us on to CIU, and we'd also like to thank Francis Anna Tong from Bryden's, who had put us on to ACB. Without those two, I don't know if we had managed to get the sponsorship, but it really went well. I must say this year was evenly divided in terms of the winners. Pickett's did well. They won 2 divisions. Generation X, we dropped off a bit, and we only won 2 divisions. And then the other 2 divisions were shared between, I think it was New Evolution, and I'm trying to remember the other one.
Pleasant, I think.
And Mount Pleasant. And Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
So I must say the competitiveness of the league has grown better and better every year. And what you're finding also too is that the teams, the clubs, are becoming more and more structured.
Yes.
So which is good, because our on-time performance, this is the best year in terms of everybody arriving on time for their matches. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best year, and it ran very smoothly. Of course, Jonathan, you managed the league, so you had the headaches at the back end. And I know what's that like, because I used to do it in years gone by, but you did a wonderful job actually.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Well done, Johnny.
Thank you.
So overall, it was a very competitive league, and two of the divisions actually came down to the final day and the final match.
It did, yeah.
So that's to show how competitive that it was.
That's what we love to hear, though. We want that competition.
Yes.
And so we spoke a little bit about the ACB Caribbean Youth League, which has gone on thanks to everybody who has allowed us to get the sponsorship from ACB. But we've also got a new relation through the ACB Caribbean Youth League. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh yes. Because of all what we're doing, and because our social media is very popular, we were contacted by the JPL, which is the Junior Premier League, which operates out of England. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the biggest youth league in the UK. They also operate leagues in Canada, in the United States, in Dubai, in Oman, and they're soon to go into Africa and China. So when they approached us about having the franchise to operate the Junior Premier League, we were open to it, and then after a number of discussions, a number of Zoom calls, we decided that we were going to partner with them. And one of the benefits about partnering with them is that any player from any one of the teams that want to go and play, let's say in the UK or Canada or the US, and want to play with one of the teams that are in their league, they can be afforded the opportunity to go up there for a match or 2 or 3 or however long they can stay, and they can be exposed. So that's all. We can also send teams to play in their leagues up in all the countries that they operate. So that's one of the benefits about it. Of course, we jumped in the opportunity, and we are now official partners. So the ACB Caribbean Youth Football League will be rebranded as of next year, and it will be called the ACB Junior Premier League.
Excellent.
The badge will change and everything.
Yeah.
But I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and I must say the JPL that we're now partnered with is not only for Antigua, but it's for the entire Caribbean.
Correct.
So we'll be operating leagues in conjunction with the JPL throughout the Caribbean, from Jamaica right down to Trinidad.
Excellent.
That's some great exposure for the kids.
Yes, it is.
Of course.
So this year was the first trip with females to Brookehouse College. How did it feel getting the first set of girls to get this opportunity?
Oh, it was a wonderful feeling. I have to say this, how this all came about is last year, because we have done this process over the last three years, I think, John?
Yeah.
Over the last 3 years, we have done this, sending boys away. Last year, Jordan Henriquez came up to me because she was seeing her brother off. Her brother was traveling, and she said, "Coach Ricky, when are the girls going to get to go?" Well, to be quite frank, I didn't even consider sending the girls.
Yes.
But my heart melted at the time. And I said, I have to create an opportunity for them. So I promised her, I said, I will ensure that you and some of the girls will be afforded that opportunity next year. And so well, if you know us at Generation X in the administration, if we say something, we're going to deliver on it.
That's it. Yep.
And we did manage to get the girls off. We were struggling in terms of the sponsorship for the boys, who followed shortly after. And the Calvinia Foundation once again came on board and assisted us because we were short of some funds. And they came on board. And,
of course.
And we were very grateful for that, to be honest.
Yeah. And we still have plans for later down in the year as well for our under 15 team.
We're planning to send an under 15 team to Millfield School for a tournament over there.
Yep.
While we're there, I'm very hopeful we'll do a good showing, but we're going to be coming up against some professional clubs.
Of course.
That are already registered in. We are not fully registered yet because, of course, we have to raise the funds.
Yes.
But Millfield has promised that they're still holding a spot for us because they would really like us to come up there.
Yeah.
And it'll be an excellent exposure. I'm confident that we can hold our own. Winning might be a far stretch because we're coming up against, in Antigua, we lack the physical infrastructure.
Yes.
And it's not that our players down here are less talented, is that it's harder for us to be developed if we don't have the proper infrastructure for them.
Yeah.
So that is one of the reasons why we try to do the combines starting with high schools also.
Yeah.
Is if we can get them out at an earlier age, up to and until we can develop our own infrastructural facilities. The best bet for them to progress is in an environment where it's, the facilities are a lot better.
Yes, of course.
And evident to that is Vaughn Jackson Jr.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's just in an upward trajectory right now.
Yeah. Since he's left, he's taken off.
Yes.
Of course. So over the 2024-25 season, we spoke a little bit, a wrap up about it. Have there been any new partnerships that you would like to speak about?
Well, the partnerships keep flowing in recent time, as you are aware, Jonathan.
Yeah.
And it seems to be flowing. We're now presently in discussions with an organization out of Sweden, and this is now going to, once we do all our due diligence, both parties, both them and ourselves. I don't want to call the names as yet, because we have not completed the due diligence. And once all of that is completed, hopefully everything will work out to the best and we'll form a partnership. This will be for the 18-year-olds and up.
Yes.
And this is professional contracts, because getting contracts in England and in Europe is a lot more difficult than the Eastern European states.
Of course.
So Sweden, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and places like that are easier to get contracts, and they are focused on that.
Yeah.
So this partnership will be for the 18-year-olds and older. It's not an educational program. It's a professional contractual program. So our lads will have to have videos or things of that nature, but they will come down for the combine that we're going to be holding later on in the season. Hopefully by, I think it's February. We normally do it.
Yes.
So February, so they will come down and do their scouting also too, and invite. So there are more opportunities coming around and around. Also, we are partnering with an organization called the Corporate Games, which is like a mini Olympics.
Yes.
And that's going to cover anywhere between 6 and 12 sports.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the lady that has the franchise for that is not able to be present for the show tonight.
Right.
We were hoping to get her on so she can talk a little bit more about it. So we're partnering with her to conduct that here, and that's going to be for the Caribbean.
For the whole Caribbean in general.
For the whole Caribbean, but it'll be hosted in Antigua.
In Antigua, and that's excellent. So it'll bring everybody to Antigua.
Exactly.
Excellent.
So that's another thing that's coming on stream.
Yeah.
We're hoping for that to come on stream by late next year.
Perfect.
Because if you could imagine 12 sports, if we get up to 12 sports, it's going to take a lot of organization.
Yeah, of course.
For sure.
A lot of planning.
As you're aware, John, just doing one league.
Yeah.
You see how much work it is.
It'll be a lot of planning and you know, in the background for sure.
That's where Jaden will come in.
Of course. So, is there anything else that you would like to speak about, Mr. Sanders, that happened over this season? Anything else you want to touch base on? Or?
No, I would just like to commend, just one other thing, I'd just like to commend our newly formed Generation Next Parents and Coaches Group Association.
Perfect.
I think they've done an amazing job in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
I'm not too certain of the exact figures that they've raised, but they've raised significant figures in a really relatively short space of time.
Yes.
And all of that will go towards events and initiatives that Generation X is putting on.
Of course.
So we'd like to thank the President, Samoya Kirby, Vice President Vincent Nabu Samuel, and Secretary Amy Lake.
Of course, they're doing a great job helping
A fantastic job.
with the fundraising for Generation X. Excellent work by our Parents and Coaches Association. Yeah. So, Mr. Santos, again, thank you so much for taking the time out for being on the GN Sports Show with us. We've got a nice little wrap-up, and we hope to see you again soon so we can speak more about what's going to happen with Generation X in the future.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course.
And we really appreciate it.
Okay.
And with that, we'll just like to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the GN Sports Show, where this evening we have here with us George Hughes, who is the national head coach and also the head coach of Flyers basketball team, who are also the three-peat reigning champions of the Antigua and Barbuda National Basketball Association League. With all of that being said, welcome to the show, Mr. Hughes.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. So, Coach George, tell us how you got involved in basketball and how that led to you now being the national head coach.
Well, I got introduced to basketball from an old player, Bobby Joseph. Okay. He used to play for the Express team, and one time he came to the JSC basketball court, and he usually have a league prior to the National Association League, right, which is like a precursor to the league, but mostly for the youths.
Okay.
So he wanted to have a team represent from the community. So he just so happened on that day he came and he saw me, and then he asked me, you know, if I was interested in putting, you know, a team together to come into his tournament. And it all stemmed from there, really. Wow. Yeah, that was in 2008. Wow. Yeah.
So the right place at the right time.
Well, sometimes I'm wondering if I was at the right place. Yeah, so that's how it started. And, you know, it just spawned from there. Yeah. We just grew from strength to strength. And I was able, you know, to touch the lives of a lot of people from the community and outside, you know, because basketball is just life, really.
Of course.
Yeah.
A lifestyle.
Yeah.
So speaking about the Antigua Bulldogs, what are your main goals for the Bulldogs this season, and how are you preparing the team to compete at a higher level internationally?
Well, honestly, I think this crop of players that we have is very unique. I think we have all the players in the right positions to compete at the highest level. One time we never had, you know, the bigs. I think we have like 4 guys over 6'10" right now.
Wow.
So we can really and truly compete at the higher level. I mean, we went to Nicaragua a couple of years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. We didn't win the tournament, but we led the league in rebounding. And that's a very good sign, you know. That means that we can get possessions. Yes. So we just have to be more skilled now. We have to, you know, commit ourselves to, you know, creating the body of work that, you know, we need to compete at that level, because those teams really play in a lot of competitions, and we just have to find competitions in order for us to always test ourselves, in order to see where we're at and where we want to go.
Of course, you want to get that experience.
Exactly.
To know what to work on.
Right.
Of course, yeah. So what will you say are some of the biggest challenges that the Bulldogs face here in Antigua in terms of resources or the competitions, and how are you working to overcome them?
Well, one of the bottlenecks that we face right now is home and away. I think FIBA is moving more to home and away competition, and because we don't really have a home here that is of FIBA standard, right, it becomes really expensive for us to travel. So we have to sometimes play our away games at other people's homes, right? So if we have a home and away, just for instance, you have BVI, you have Saint Martin, we have to go through a situation where we might have to, engage them to play our home games in their stadium.
Yeah. So you have no home advantage.
We don't have no home advantage, So let's say we're playing Cuba, we'll probably fly to Cuba, but then BVI will be our home base when we're on the return leg.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is to try and see if we can, create some awareness here, where we can have. It doesn't have to be anything really crazy big. It just has to be to the standards of FIBA basketball.
So we can at least
You're right. And I think for the next 10, 12 years, because these guys are pretty young, in their early 20s, and I think that we have a very good opportunity to do great things if we can get everything in place in terms of resources, in terms of scheduling, and all that kind of thing. If we can get all those things, in the same place, we can do some great things on the international stage.
I can imagine, of course. Yeah.
So you mentioned concerns about losing momentum due to not competing in tournaments for approximately 2 years. What specific steps or initiatives are being considered to keep the team engaged and developing?
Well, we try to. We just came out of the playoffs, so most of the guys taking a little break. We plan to reconvene in the month of July to do like skill training and gym work. We really wanted to see if we could have had a tournament locally, so we could showcase the skills of the youngsters. Everything didn't come into place like we wanted it to, but that is a concern that we are trying to remedy from both the association point of view and the ministry, Antigua Olympic Committee. Yes, they also help us to spearhead those kind of things. So we're trying to put a schedule in place going forward that we want to try and maintain, because my goal, as I put it to the association, was to see if we could compete in the 2027 World Cup. I mean, just try to make a run at it. And we just need to start now in order for us to have the appropriate games under our belt and to make the different stages, right? So some of those things that we're trying to look towards, because FIBA does have a World Cup of its own, right? And 2027, I think that's in Malaysia. So, that's something that we're actually trying to make some plans for. However, in our region, hosting in itself is very expensive, and a lot of the DRs, the Cubas, the US Virgin Islands, they're already pre-qualified, so they are not interested in hosting, right? We now have to find with the lesser countries, places like Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad. Those are some of the countries that have tournaments going on. Those are some of the tournaments we have to get involved with.
Okay. And what role do you believe the Bulldogs are playing, which is obviously you're the head coach of the Bulldogs team. What role do you believe they are playing in inspiring the next generation of basketballers?
Well, what we do at the Bulldogs, at the national level, we're just trying to teach good habits.
Right.
I mean, having good habits, it tells you that I must be on time. I even though nobody's watching, I have to still go to the gym.
Yep.
I still have to run my 3-4 miles per day.
Yep.
I still got to do my push-ups if rain's coming. I still got to get my shots up. So those are some of the habits that we're trying to implement, because we can't be behind them 24/7.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, some of the guys don't understand that the coaches see if you're actually working, because we can see the changes in your game.
Of course.
Because, we will give you a template to work with, but we know if you're actually doing anything, because it shows, right? So, so like I said, just try to create better habits, more discipline, and just self-awareness.
self-accountability
Yep,
too.
yep.
Yeah.
Holding yourself to that standard.
Yeah, you do.
So you're also the head coach of the Flyers basketball team.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that came about and how the team has been doing since.
Well, like I said, the whole Flyers situation started in 2008. That has been something that I've been involved with intimately. The whole emphasis in Flyers is just, from my point of view, is just preparing players not for just to play in Antigua, but preparing players to access overseas scholarships. We're fortunately we were able to help a lot of players come through the system. A lot of things have evolved over the years, and changes had to be made, but our goal is still, so we also have a Division 2, which is our farm team, and we prepare them to come up to Division 1. So we try to teach the same habits in Division 2, and then we will kind of bring players up as we see fit, and they're ready.
So they have something to work towards.
Right, they have something to work towards to the Division 1 team. So again, like I said, it's just teaching habits and teaching that you can be reliable and your teammates can rely on you.
Lovely.
So you have players like Adonis, who's on set here with us today, and also Selassie Brathwaite, who have been posting strong stat lines. How are these performances inspiring role players to elevate their games?
Well, I think too, sometimes you have to have a little competition amongst yourself, and I think sometimes some of the players want to be able to step into their shoes, right? And so it's a situation when iron sharpening iron.
Yes.
I mean, if you don't play, I'm gonna step into your shoes at some point in time. So I think it helps them too to stay ready, because like I said, we have a Division 2 team, and sometimes, even though sometimes their mind are clouded, they think they're much better than they really are. So they want to actually be able to step into the Division 1 setup. So it kind of helps the older guys to stay motivated and stay current.
They have to stay focused because they know my spot might get
exactly
taken.
Somebody's coming. Somebody's coming.
Of course.
Lovely.
So you're the head coach of Antigua and Barbuda's national basketball team. How do you see the future of basketball in Antigua and Barbuda?
Well, I mean, the future in basketball is bright, but we just have to have it more organized. All the parties involved have to have that one vision. I mean, you can have academy, I can have an academy, he can have an academy, but what is the vision of these academies? What is what are we trying to do on the long term? Right? So it's tough because everybody seems to have their own goals, like anything else. But if we want to really make some kind of noise on the international level, we have to come to the table and figure out what is the main goal. And the training has to be concise, and the training has to be almost the same, so we get the same results at the end of the day.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. And we wish you the best going forward with the Antigua Bulldogs and also the Flyers. With that being said, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
GN Sports Show.
Welcome back to the GN Sports Show. Today we have some basketballers with us. We have Adonis Humphreys, captain of both the national senior team and also Flyers. And Jaden Andrew, who is also a national senior player and player for Northside Stingers. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. So getting right into it, we're going to start with you, Adonis. As captain of the national team, how do you approach the responsibility of leading a squad that represents the entire country?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us here. With the national team, with the younger players, of course, I try to get everybody on the same page. But I understand the reason why we're here. We're here to win. Because we live in a country where losing is not an option, so you have to at least come with a medal. So I just try to make everybody on the same page. What you're playing for, that playing for the country is a privilege. Of course. It's a blessing, and like I said, it's out of population that we are here as 12 of us is here, so it's very important for us to put together a team.
That's lovely. That's lovely. I love the way you said that, and you want to win. That's why you compete.
That's the main focus. Goal. Yes, of course. So, as being a captain, what are the biggest challenges that you faced both on and off the court?
I think, actually, I think the coaches do a great job on getting everybody involved and, like I said, understanding why we're here. So I don't have much of a challenge.
Right.
But just little things like maybe probably like getting everybody involved, punctuality.
Yes, of course.
Everybody there, everybody going hard, bringing the energy. Those kind of little things. Because the overall goal, the overall scheme of practice and training, the coaches does an excellent job on it. But those little things, like I said, just being available.
Yep.
Yes.
Being disciplined, just being focused. Those little things. That's where I think I come in and try to get everybody on the same page.
Yeah. Fit in and help get everybody. Yeah.
Definitely.
Perfect.
Speaking about getting people on the same page, how do you foster unity and motivation among these players who come from different clubs and backgrounds?
Well, back again to the coaches. I have to give him a lot of credit, especially Coach George Hughes, the national head coach. He understands the importance of having good team chemistry and cohesion. And he would, like for instance, before the practice start, we would do like drills, different drills, like silly drills, like probably throwing a ball on a stick, those kind of things. To, make people out of the shell, get out of their comfort zone, those kind of things. Course. And I think they understand the importance, like I said, of getting everybody on the same page.
Right.
Because again, you have players from different backgrounds, different behavior, different routine, coming together, and it's kind of hard to put everybody together in one. So they understand. Yeah. It's very, very, very important.
Of course.
Yeah, because you have to build that team chemistry.
You have to build that team chemistry. You can't have a tug of war when you're overseas and running by a team. You want to focus more on what's going on in the game. You can't be thinking about this man complaining about this. No. You want to be able to go together as one unit.
As a family. Yeah. Of course. So we spoke a little bit about you being a captain of the national team. You're also captain of the Flyers basketball team, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So after advancing to the Division 1 finals with obviously some impressive victories over the tournament, how would you say the team's confidence and chemistry, which we were just talking about, have evolved throughout the playoff run?
Well, the beauty of Flyers is that the core players have been together for almost a decade now. Well, more than a decade actually. So we understand the system.
Right.
It's very, 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 very important to understand the system, and we trust in the system.
Right.
And as you can see, he has rewarded us with championships.
Yes.
And I think we don't have a problem with team chemistry. We don't argue on the court. We don't. Well, most times we don't argue. And we been together so long that we play each other mistakes. We able to talk to somebody and tell somebody, don't just do that, and they won't take it personal.
Right.
They take it constructively.
Yeah. Constructive criticism.
Which is very important. Like I said, and our coach for Flyers basketball is the national head coach, Coach George Hughes. Wow. So once again, what he is doing is working.
Right.
It's really working.
The results show.
Of course.
So you've been putting up some dominant numbers in the playoffs. What has been key to your consistency during the crucial stretch?
The want and need to win championships. That's, like I said, the ultimate goal is very important. I think for our club, we want to be recognized as one of the greatest teams.
Yeah.
It's hard because they had, back in the past, a lot of top teams, dominance for quite some time, and we recognize that, and we want it's like a drive, an engine for us to want to be that, to be recognized as the top team in Barbados for forever.
Yeah.
Coach, I was talking about play. How do you want people to remember you?
Yes.
It's important to build a legacy now, because like I said, we are relatively in our prime, going to be old soon for now, and
of course
somebody like young like Jaden will come and take away. But for now, we want to try to win as much as we can.
Yeah.
Because we want to be recognized as one of the best teams in Antigua.
That's a great goal.
So we went to a game 5 against Potters, Jaden being the the engine of the team, or one of the engine.
Yeah.
But this guy gave us headaches. Trust me, he was averaging like 25 points per game.
Wow.
You know, and even with like 4 or 5 steals and 5 6 assists.
Wow.
I think there was I think it was game 4 where he outbounded our team.
Wow.
The smallest guy on the court. And that is a will and drive that he has. I must commend him.
Yes.
He gave us problems.
May I ask how tall are you, Jaden?
Oh, I'm 6'2".
6'2".
We have
So good
players
height.
on our team who are 6'6", 7 foot.
Wow.
6'6", 6'8", 6'7". We
Wow.
have tall players.
Yeah.
Boy.
Jay,
Oh yeah, but
big up yourself. Big up yourself.
we won, and I must commend the other team, Potters, Steelers for.
Putting up a big fight.
Of course.
Of course. Good competition. Yeah.
Definitely.
Of course.
All right, so we're going to ask Jaden some questions now.
Move on to Jaden, Andrew. So Jaden, you're not only a member of the national team, but you're also a part of, is it Antigua Bulldogs it's called?
Yeah, that's the national team.
That's the national team? Okay, and you're also a part, a point guard for Northside Stingers, is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
That is your club team, okay. How do you balance being both a floor general and also knowing when to take over a game for yourself?
I feel like I've just been playing for so long, and I feel like that skill just kind of grew with me over the years. I always play with older people,
Yeah.
so I always have to like balance out making them shine and knowing when I can do my own thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like that always helped me throughout the years.
Throughout the years. Okay, for sure.
And you've also represented Antigua and Barbuda on the international stage. How does it feel wearing the national jersey, and what lessons from those FIBA qualifiers did you take back to the Stingers with you?
It was definitely an honor playing for the national team. When I was playing, I was 18. I just turned 18 when I played, and I was the youngest player on the team. So I was very honored to be able to play everybody older than me. And with Stingers, I just tried to make everybody like rise, like with me, kind of. We played against Flyers. It was hard games.
Yeah.
They had like 4 or 5 players on the team from Flyers on the national team, so they knew like the level and what to bring and stuff. So I tried to bring that to Stingers.
Well, I have to say it's very commendable getting selected for the team. And,
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah.
congrats to you.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, yeah. So, we just spoke about it. You're point guard for the national team. You got to experience going away in FIBA, playing in America Cup pre-qualifiers, right? How had that shaped your approach to leadership and game management? Before you answer that, we will let the viewers know that you average 7.7 points, right? And 3.7 rebounds and assists, yeah? Perfect. Go ahead and tell them,
I mean, the experience was great. We played against some really good teams. Played against Cuba, Nicaragua, USVI, and all those teams have been, like powerhouses in this area for some time. I know Antigua now coming up, we trying to compete with those teams, like those teams trying to compete with.
Yeah.
And as the years go on, I feel like we're getting better and better. And I feel like in the next 10 years, we have a really powerful team, and we should really make some noise in the Caribbean.
That's what we love to hear.
Yeah. And we wish all the best for that.
Yeah. So looking ahead, whether it's the Stingers or the national team, what are your personal goals, and where do you see your game going over the next couple of years?
Right now I'm in my 2nd year in college now. Okay. I'm at D1 JUCO in Texas. So within next week I'm trying to get to D1, compete at the high level, and also just have a good run with the national team as well. Trying to win gold medals.
Of course.
Definitely, yeah.
That's a big goal.
That's what we love to hear. We love those goals, man.
Of course. Yeah, so to Adonis and Jaden, thanks again for being on the show with us. We
you,
really
Adonis.
appreciate it. We wish you both the best and continue to represent in Antigua and making us proud.
Sir, thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Appreciate it.
Good.
Yes,
Yes, yes. Yeah, man. We'd like to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the GN Sports Show. I am Jaden Leandro. Today I have here with me National Selector for Sri Lanka Cricket, Ajantha Mendis. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, how are you?
Welcome.
So we're going to get right into it. My first question for you. You're also known as the mystery spinner due to your unusual variations in bowling action. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, actually, when I was a kid, I think I'm trying to bowl with the tennis ball, I think, like the tennis ball.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I like to do a lot of variation into that. I think that improve for me as the hard ball cricket in the success that moment because it's like a hard work. Like every day I'm practice like 3-4 hours for that my bowling style. And I think I did a good job.
Well, of course, your career has showed it. You played for the Sri Lanka national team, so the career definitely showed that you were a good bowler, of course.
And spinning was your favorite style in bowling?
Yeah, actually, it's called like I bowl like off spin, leg spin, googly, carom ball. Like it's like something different to in the cricket in that area.
Okay.
So different than fast bowling and them kind of stuff. Yes, of course. Okay. And what age did you start playing cricket?
Actually, starting with in my age, like I think I started with under 15 in school, and I started playing national like when I was like 23. Yeah.
Okay, and is anybody
actually, my first tour also invest in this?
Yeah.
Because I never forget because in my first tour I remember I got Chris Gale in my first wicket. I think actually I'm really happy that moment.
Yes, I can imagine that must have been a big moment for you, of course. Yeah. And who introduced you into playing cricket? Was it something that you took the initiative, you saw people playing it and you said, I want to play cricket? Or was it somebody in your family who used to play cricket? And
no, actually in my family background they don't have any cricketers. In the first cricketer in family is me. I think in the young age I like to play cricket. Every day I want to play cricket. That's the motivation to go as a national player.
Yes, of course.
Did you play for a club as a kid, or was it just playing at school?
Yeah, actually after the school I went to the Sri Lankan Army. It's a Sri Lankan Army. They have a cricket team. I joined with playing cricket with the Army. I'm still working with the Army now. I almost more than 20 years I'm working for Army. Actually, I'm happy to be an Army guy.
Yeah, that's a great achievement.
Yes, of course. Excellent.
What have been your favorite moments in your cricket career so far?
Actually, a lot of memories there. It's like we play like a lot of World Cup finals, World Cup semi-finals, but likely we won the World Cup in 2014 against India. I think that's the best moment in my life of cricket.
Of course, and congratulations for winning that cup, of course. And what advice would you give to any future cricketers that are watching the show?
Actually, cricket is every sport. I think is never give up, and hard work is very important because as a kid they need it's a big goal to go. I think work hard and believe yourself. Everything is I think not easy. We have to find a lot of hard work to do we go to the success.
Yeah, of course. They have to be disciplined to what they want to do. 100%. Yes, of course.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mendis, for coming and taking your time to speak with us. Yes. Congrats on everything you've done so far in your career, and thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you very much.
And we'll just be going into a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
We would like to thank the sponsors of Generation Next: Fruta, Antigua Masonry Products, Kenneth A. Gomez Insurance Agency, Island Photo, and Francis Trading Agency. Good evening and welcome to our special segment of the GN Sports Show. And tonight we're diving into the fascinating world where sports psychology meets brain science. Ever wondered how elite athletes get in the zone? Or how young kids can be trained to improve focus and performance, not just physically but mentally? Well, joining me is Dr. Rick, a clinical physiologist from the American University of Antigua College of Medicine, and he's here to break it all down for us. Dr. Rick, welcome back to the Sports Show.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thank you. Good seeing you guys.
Of course. So we'll just get straight into it. I said a key phrase earlier, in the zone.
In the zone.
What is it scientifically speaking?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So it has many meanings, but let me give you an example. Did you ever notice some days when you get out of bed, you're just not feeling right and you just feel uncomfortable? Yeah. And everything is like a struggle.
Yeah.
Walking to the bathroom and then you go to your car, it's a struggle. You're going to work, it's a struggle. Everything's kind of a struggle.
Yeah.
Well, that's not in the zone. That's out of the zone. But then, do you notice some days you get in the shower and you feel good, and then you're getting out of bed and you just float through your activities. You know, boom, 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 boom. You just walk through your activities. You walk to your car, and there's no struggle. You feel great. That's in the zone. You're in the zone that day.
Right.
So, you know, in sports, if you're in the zone, that means everything is running smoothly. All your muscles are synchronized, and you're doing well. There are times, believe it or not, at my advanced age, I get out on the basketball court, and I just don't miss a shot for a long time. Boom, 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 boom. No matter what I do, I can close my eyes and the ball go in the basket. Huh? That's in the zone. Then there's other days where I'm struggling to hit the rim, and it's going and bouncing here and bouncing there and bouncing all over the place. So I'm definitely not in the zone.
Right.
And the question, what's the difference? Well, we inherited from our animal friends, our lower animal friends, a part of our brain called the amygdala that's our danger center. Now, when we were animals, or when we are confronted with real danger, it fires, you know? But now, in our society, you may not be confronted with real danger, but the amygdala has taken on the function of being a stress center too. So when you're stressed out, it's interpreted by your brain as danger, because we don't go out and fight the lion anymore and, you know, try to kill animals for food and run away from the giraffe and all that kind of stuff that we did when we were hunters and gatherers. So it takes on new meaning, this idea of stress and danger. So when we're really working at something really hard and we haven't done it enough times, really our brain is saying, hey, you're in danger.
Right.
And even think about some of the contact sports. The brain may be interpreting that, hey, during that contact, you're in danger. You could get hurt.
Correct.
You see?
Yeah.
Now, what happens when an animal's in danger? Remember, you ever see a rabbit? You have rabbits here? I haven't seen too many rabbits.
I've seen pet rabbits, but not really that wild around place, but yeah.
In the United States, we have deer. I don't know, there's no deer here, but deer here, but in the United States we have deer. And when you're driving down the road, in a country road, and you have your lights on at night, and a deer, you see the deer and you see their eyes in there, they just freeze. Rabbits do the same thing.
Right.
And I think a lot of animals freeze. I don't know, do these tree lizards, do these iguanas freeze? Yeah, they might freeze too, when they sense danger.
Right.
You know? And so, believe it or not, we freeze too. Okay? But it was not so severe that we're just stuck and we can't freeze. Although, if somebody's in a real stressful environment,
that could happen.
they might actually freeze and not be able to function.
Right.
So that's why we need, our first responders have to be well trained to overcome that, to make sure they don't freeze.
You don't freeze, right.
You know?
Yeah.
But when we have this situation coming up that we're trying to do something that's very difficult, let's say on the basketball court or the soccer field or the pitch, you call it, or wherever the heck it is, you know, this it's almost like a freeze if it's interpreted by your brain as being very, very difficult or very dangerous. And what does that do? It stiffens up your muscles.
Okay.
So when you're trying to struggle to do something, your muscles are getting stiff. There's a part of your brain that actually sends signals through our body's morphine system. Do you know that our bodies makes our own opiates? You know what an opiate is. It's a narcotic that puts you to sleep.
Correct.
And fights danger by raising your pain threshold, takes away the pain.
Yeah.
Right? And so the same centers in the brain that are making this morphine called endorphins, stands for endogenous, made in the body morphine, is making these signals to, oh, this is a dangerous situation. That's why we need the morphine.
Right. Yes.
So we're going to take away your pain a little bit, but we're going to freeze you a little bit. We're going to stiffen your muscles a little bit. So things aren't going to be so smooth.
Right.
And so that seems to be a protective thing that we inherited from lower animals. And so, you know, if I'm going out to the basketball court, or you're going out to kick a soccer ball or a football, you call it, and you have trouble, you know, it's not going smoothly, it could be that you're stiffening up. Now, what's making you stiffen up? Well, research shows that we have these brain waves that are elicited. And so we have fast brain waves called gamma and beta, and we have slower brain waves called theta and delta, and one in the middle called alpha. And that one in the middle called alpha is what our brain relies on as our default mode network. You know, your computers have a default mode network.
Yes.
When it's idling and not doing anything. It's in the default mode network. Well, your brain has a default mode network too. And it seems like when that happens, it's resetting everything. It's synchronizing all the different motor areas of your brain, like the cerebellum is a motor coordination center, and the basal ganglia and the motor cortex. These are all areas in the brain that have to be synchronized just right to carry out any complicated movement. And so it's really funny that these centers that need to be synchronized, when you're not in the zone, they're not synchronized. And it seems like we don't really know the function of these alpha waves. Alpha and theta are very close together in frequency. So some of them are alpha and some of them are theta.
Okay.
And when we in this alpha theta zone, it correlates very well with what we think behaviorally a person's in the zone and everything's going smoothly. So, can we train the brain? Can we train the brain? Can an elite athlete train himself or herself to be in the zone? Well, yes, there's something called neurofeedback.
Yeah.
And when they're training, we put electrodes on their scalp. They wear a cap.
Right.
And it's conducting the electricity from the scalp to a machine that's recording their brain waves. And then what we can do is we can give them signals when they're in the zone. They give them signals through, let's say, an earpiece, a tone. You're in the zone. And when they're not in the zone, they don't hear that tone or they hear a different tone. And their brain, believe it or not, learns when they're in the zone what they're doing and what they're not supposed to do to be out of the zone.
Right.
And it almost is automatic. It's not like a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of work for the brain. The brain does that automatically. Our brain is self-regulating. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay.
It regulates itself. So when you go into this neurofeedback training that sports psychologists use, now a person can actually automatically get in the zone and their muscles become synchronized better. That's essentially a very long explanation for what you thought was going to be a very simple question about what does it mean to be in the zone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's why you have me here, isn't it?
Of course.
Let's
Give
do
us
a little bit of science.
Yes.
So, okay, go to your textbooks and read some of the stuff. Okay, good.
So it's like the brain's quiet, but it's still working behind the scenes.
Yes, exactly. Like the default mode network, as I was saying. Then there's another brainwave called the mu brainwave over the motor strip. The motor strip is right here in the middle on the left and the right. And when we record from that motor strip, we find that those mu waves, so brain waves have an amplitude, they have a height to them. And so when we look at the height of those mu waves, when you are watching someone do something and you're learning from them, but you're not doing it yourself, those mu waves that are coming from neurons called mirror neurons, and they're mirroring what you're watching. Now those mirror neurons are firing at a high level. You have this high amplitude or high voltage brainwave over the motor strip at a certain frequency. We know the frequency, so we can tune the machine to that frequency and record it. And then when you go out and carry that same activity out that you just watched, the mirror neurons making those mu waves, that amplitude decreases. Now it's counterintuitive. You would think it would increase, but it actually decreases. Why? Why is very interesting. It's because your brain is under better control and you are creating more inhibition. Inhibition is control. Lack of inhibition is, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Right.
That's somebody with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, right?
Correct, yeah.
They're all over the place, and they've got to learn better control.
Yeah.
So this control you have reduces that mirror neuron mu wave when you carry it out. So that's another thing we can monitor electrically from your brain to see whether or not the person is actually responding to training the way they're supposed to and carrying out the synchronization of the muscles. A great story I have about that is this. You heard of the Vietnam War?
Yes, of course.
During the Vietnam War, there was this guy who was a prisoner of war. And he was a prisoner of war for, I can't tell you exactly, but years, a couple of years, right? It was the longest war of the United States was the Vietnam War, I believe.
Yeah.
At least up to that time. And he was not a very good golfer. But when he was and they kept him in solitary confinement. They were torturing him and do all kinds of stuff, but he was in solitary confinement. So this guy, to save his brain and save himself, he would pretend he was playing golf on a golf course that he knew very well near his home, and he would play golf in his mind.
Wow.
Every day, over and over again, the same golf course, the same strokes. In other words, whatever it was, he invented it in his mind.
Yeah.
You know,
So
he
tricked
invented
his
this,
mind,
tricked his
basically.
mind that he was actually playing golf.
Wow.
Right? Now, so he's kind of thinking about it, so his mirror neurons are working, right? And I imagine he also stood up and pretended he was stroking a golf
Correct.
club at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know the story that well to tell you exactly, but I'm sure he didn't just sit there and imagine. He probably did something physically too.
Followed the
So his
motion.
mirror neurons were working out. So several years later, he gets out of being a prisoner of war. You know, they release him. He comes back to the United States, and he goes to the golf course, and he shoots the best golf score of his life.
Wow.
Wow.
He was several strokes below it, and he hadn't played golf, and he was basically a prisoner of war for years. Hadn't played any golf, but it helped him maintain his golf prowess,
Yeah.
and in fact even improved it.
Wow.
Unbelievable story. Now if
really
that
is,
doesn't tell you
yeah.
the power of the brain, nothing does.
That's amazing. Wow.
He trained his brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was using these mirror neurons, and I honestly can't prove that he was,
Yeah.
Right.
because I didn't do an electroencephalogram on him, but that's how a scientist would explain it
Yeah.
in terms of what we know about sports psychology. How about that?
Amazing, yeah. So we were speaking about it. Is it something that we can look at in kids as well? Can this be also looked at in
Sure,
children? Can a child
everybody,
train their brain
yeah.
to do that as well?
Absolutely. For example, now part of my research is going to be to expand this into training kids who have difficulty holding their head up and controlling their head movements because they have neurological damage, neurological injuries. And so we are putting a headset on them with electrodes on their scalp, and we are causing their bodies to, let's say, have to adjust their posture, so they have to adjust their head movements to right themselves up correctly. And we're going to follow that SMR signal that I call mu waves, those mirror neuron waves, and we're going to see whether or not we can train them better through the neurofeedback if we're watching those waves. And nobody's ever done that before.
It's amazing.
So we're on the cutting edge. We're on the cutting edge here in Antigua. Would you believe that?
Can you imagine? That's amazing.
Yeah, we do some nice things. Well,
So let's get practical. What are some of the brain hacks that the parents and coaches that are out there can use with these young athletes?
well, that's a good question. It's very difficult to say, but making the young athletes aware that they can control themselves and make them aware that when things aren't going well for them, right, they have to be more mindful
Right.
of their bodies. there's synchronization and all of that. That might help. On the other hand, you can overthink it. You can also you can go too far. So you really, I don't think this is anything for parents. I think you really need trained people.
Right.
Because you could ruin a kid's sport by what? Making him too vigilant.
Yeah.
And then the movements don't flow. So I know coaches who will, some of my coaches who will remain unnamed. Well, actually, all my coaches, I think, are dead. So I only have to worry about pushback from their children or from their grandchildren, probably, or great-grandchildren, if they hear about it. So I'm not going to use their names anyway.
Right.
Who, when they were coaching me, and I wasn't any great athlete, by the way, so let's keep me out of it. I've seen them coach people who had the potential to be the greatest basketball players, some of the top basketball players in the NBA. But the coaches didn't handle them properly because they were making them too aware of their movements. I had this one guy who was the fastest guy in the court. Boom, 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 boom. And the problem was he made too many movements, such that by the time he finished all his movements, which were brilliant moves, the person who was defending him had already recovered. So in other words, he made so many. You ever see that? You probably see that on the football field.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You see somebody make so many moves, and if he would have gone right and scored, it would have been fine. But he made so many moves that the defender had already recovered, and so he couldn't do anything. He couldn't score.
Yeah.
And so I saw people like that, and the coaches who were not in those days, there was no such thing as sports psychology, so they didn't know what they were doing. Right. They would work with him so diligently on it. They made him so aware of his movements that he became so vigilant that those fast brain waves, I told you about the gamma and the beta waves, were probably increasing and filtering down and inhibiting those mirror neurons and those slower waves, which we need to be in the zone.
Yeah.
So you see, it's not that simple. So parents, honestly, I don't know. Maybe we'll think of something and I will devise a very expensive machine for parents to use so I can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, let's work on it together.
Yeah, of course.
We'll get a patent for it. And, of course we can't. And then we'll give the GN Sports Show some action off the patent.
Of course. Of course.
So people can purchase a band that has these electrodes, and they'll be recording the brain waves. And then there's machines that give them the auditory cues into their ears, and when they are maximizing a certain frequency of these brain waves, which could be in the alpha zone, then it gives you the tone, and they can do it on their own. So actually, people can do this on their own.
They can do it on their own.
Yeah, there are neurofeedback systems people can buy, probably on Amazon.
Okay. So what's it called? A neurofeedback system?
Neurofeedback, sometimes it's called neurobiofeedback.
Okay.
All kinds of stuff like that.
Definitely something
basically
to look
what
into.
It means is the nervous system is getting a signal from the body through a sensor that's telling it when it's doing just the right thing.
Interesting.
And then the brain takes over, believe it or not. You don't have to tell the brain to do anything. The brain says, "Oh, this is what we're supposed to do, so we're gonna do it."
It's in control.
And it's called. Our brain is a self-regulating system.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Rick, I mean, it's a lot of information for us to take in. It was a lot of information today, but it truly has been fascinating. Is there any final words that you want to give to any parents or coaches that are out there listening?
Yes, don't overcoach your kids. Don't make them hyper-vigilant. Don't push them too hard. And when you see they're struggling, help them relax, because it's the relaxation. Remember I told you when we were animals in the wild, like rabbits and deer, when we sensed something was too difficult or dangerous, we froze. That means our muscles stiffened up. So when you see somebody that's not, where their movements are not flowing, that's what's happening.
Yes.
In other words, there's other things going on in their brain that's keeping them from being in the zone. So relaxation techniques, mindfulness, making people mindful of what is required is the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
It sounds simple, but it's not. Yeah. Because if it was so easy, you know, we would probably all be elite athletes, which we're not. I want to think that I am an elite athlete, but I know that I'm not. I want to act like an elite athlete, but I know I'm not.
Yeah.
I want to get paid like an elite athlete, but I'm not.
Well, again, Dr. Rick, thank you so much for being on the sports show with us, taking out the time to be here with us this evening. It was a lot of information, and we hope to see you next week.
There we go. There we go, brother.
Thank you. And with that, we've come to the end of our 7th episode of season 3, and also we've come to the end of our season. We really hope that all of our viewers have enjoyed this week's show, but also all of the episodes throughout this season.
Please make sure to stay tuned and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, this is the GN Sports Show.
Interviews, insights, dreams taking flight. We show them how to handle the spotlight, preparing them for the journey ahead, building confidence, the words left unsaid. From the grassroots to the national scene, young athletes chasing every dream. In every game there's a story to tell. GN Sports Show, we know them well. GN Sports, where the youth lead the way. Champions of tomorrow, making waves today. From ages 5 and up, we help them grow. It's their time to shine on the GN Sports Show. GN Sports Show, interviews where the youth lead the way. Champions of tomorrow, making waves today. From ages 5 and up, we help them grow. It's their time to shine on the GN Sports Show. GN Sports, where the youth